And welcome back to Beyond Gardens Live, this program brought to you by the Water Corporation, who would like to point out that there are a number of symbols or logos you should look for when purchasing products or services to do with being efficient. And here they are. Hopefully here they are. They'll be up in just a second. We've got the, first of all, the Smart Approved watermark that's been around for a considerable time now.
And national.
And national,
yeah.
And in order to bear that, products have to meet certain criteria. That's hand in hand with the WaterWise approved logo. The two, in fact, go hand in hand. And then if you're seeking or searching, whichever you prefer, services to do with water, then look for a WaterWise specialist.
So the good thing about these is that obviously you haven't got someone to ask all the time, but if you see these logos, someone's done a vetting process to work through. And in fact, the WaterWise specialist ones, we're all WaterWise specialists. And in fact, John did the original course, didn't you? And created the original course. And
a while ago, yeah. But yeah. It's worthwhile, just making sure you're on the right track. Now, at the start of the program, we showed you Carrigaline Field Days. One of the most popular stands at the Field Days was that of the Department of Agriculture, because if there are two words on everybody's lips at the moment, both commercial growers and home gardeners, it's fruit fly, and it's a real pain. And the trouble is that it's more difficult now than it was before, because no longer can we use one of the essential tools that we used to use to control fruit fly. I spoke to Ernie Steiner at the Department of Agriculture, and he told me what it was we were missing out on.
Cover sprays that have been used traditionally for the last 40 years or so, particularly fenthion-based products, are no longer available, particularly for backyard use, but they are on in a permit situation at the moment, an amended use pattern for commercial growers.
But as far as the garden is concerned, well, perhaps we can go back and look at what we had available to us, beginning with year-round trapping. So this was the drink bottles sort of idea, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. No, there's a lot of innovation associated with fruit fly control, and one of those was the attract and drown system, as we call it, with simply as a fruit.
Is that why people like beer in the traps?
Well,
the idea? Give them a happy ending.
Got the protein and the sugars and all the essentials there, and people used other protein sources, and they were very successful, and all dependent on the number of traps that you put out into your fruit trees.
And that was year round. And then as the fruit matured a bit, we used to go into, and I guess still can, foliar baiting. And this is what, mixing up that sludge and splashing it on?
Yeah, basically it's a food source that's put on as a splash onto the leaves of the tree. So you'd be using 50 to 120 ml of solution, and it's got a toxic food in there, and the flies feed on it and then they die. And there are organic products available for that.
And we can still do those too, but what we can't do is the cover spray. So where do we go now?
Well, you have to intensify the trapping efforts, but there are also exclusion products. There are bags, there's netting that can be used, and also we advocate that people clean up under their trees, and if they're not using the fruit, if they're not eating the fruit, then perhaps to either strip the tree well before fruit maturity, and in probably a more drastic scenario, to get rid of the tree altogether if they're not going to use the fruit.
If they're not using the fruit.
Yeah.
Because for the home gardeners, as I said, it's always been a challenge, fruit fly, hasn't it? And many people just lose that challenge year after year, but keep leaving the tree there, and I guess that upsets you and also the commercial orchardists as well.
Well, it does, and growing fruit comes with a responsibility, so we're trying to impart that to backyard people and get the community involved, and because these control measures are more successful if they're implemented in a community or area-wide basis.
Can I ask you possibly an unfair question, Ernie? What do you think? I mean, can we control fruit fly without the cover spray chemical?
I believe we can, yes, because we are at a place now that other countries, like in the EU, have been many years prior to us, and they use other systems, and they use a systems approach, multiple tools that they've developed and improved, and it's just a matter of changing our thinking, and I believe it is doable.
Well, let's hope it's doable. Time will tell. Garden Note 547 is what we were referring to, and it is a very concise piece of information, freely downloaded from the web.
We've had someone waiting for quite a while on the line, so let's go straight to that call.
Hello, welcome to the garden.
Yeah, hi. How you going?
We're going well.
Okay. I'm Mike, and I live around the Melville area, the metro area. Some years ago, we planted a whole lot of fruit trees, and they pretty well all died. Similar scenario with the dying. There was any new growth, any new woody growth would turn black and run back in towards the trunk quite rapidly in terms of the dying off of that new growth. Mm. Mm-hmm. This is a very long story, but we tested the ground, sent it off to the Ag Department, and they said that it tested positive for Cinnamomum phytophthora. Subsequently, I've spoken to somebody who worked at the Ag Department, and I described all the symptoms, and he said, oh, look, it didn't sound like phytophthora to him. I tried a whole lot of things, and like I say, they were mainly fruit trees that was the problem.
Can I just, as you say, look, it's a long story. So yeah. The nub of it is what, that you still don't know what it was that caused the problem?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
But you got a positive test for Phytophthora dieback?
That was, yes.
Yeah.
So they found it there, so...
Yeah, and most of the fruit trees are very susceptible. The other candidate for this is called armillaria. Did you investigate that at all?
No.
Armillaria is also known as honey fungus. You don't see it when it's attacking the plant, but when conditions are right, it fruits. And this is what the fruit of armillaria looks like, and you can see why it gets the name honey fungus. And it can make a real mess. Unfortunately, extraordinarily difficult to control, as is Phytophthora. And really the answer comes down to fresh soil, large pot, keep the pot isolated from your previous garden soil, start growing dwarf fruit trees in pots. Unfortunately, I really can't offer you much better help than that.
Would that sound like the symptoms for Phytophthora, where you get new woody growth that dies back?
It's one of the symptoms, yes. Okay. Yeah, Phytophthora basically interrupts the sap flow within the plant, so it can display a number of symptoms as a result of that.
And a lesion can rise up the stem. It's a root rotting disease, but it can rise up.
I guess the important thing is, look, we can only speculate. The laboratory tests are what actually do the determination, so you can't rely on what we might guess, I'm afraid.
That's
okay.
Fair enough. That's our disclaimer. We can only wish you luck. And I say, look, try growing the dwarf fruit trees. Lots of them nowadays. You want fruit, get large pots, grow the fruit trees in large pots, grow the dwarf ones. Use a fresh potting mix and make sure the soil never mixes, and you should be fine. Touch wood.
Hopefully that's helpful. But there are lots of. You can go to the dieback working group, and there's a whole heap of information on how to manage that particular disease.
And that really is all you can do.
Yeah, and if you've got a positive test, then it's very likely that's what you've got.
Yeah.
They don't make these things up.
Okay. Thank you for your call.
We've got another couple of calls.
Have we?
Yeah.
Are they sitting on the garden bench outside the gate right now, are they?
Yeah. I think one of them's just...
Yeah. I think we should talk to them.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we're all ears.
I've got a question regarding my jonquils.
Yes.
They're in the front lawn, and they've died obviously, and the leaves are going brown. Am I going to affect the bulbs for next year if I cut the grass and take the leaves off with it?
Yes, is the simple answer to that. The way that jonquils grow, they're a member of the Narcissus family, and like all the Narcissus, they're all pretty much the same. Yeah, weedy, Steve will say in a moment.
And genus, I was going to say.
Okay, sorry. And the way that they grow is to flower, and then after flowering, harvest energy from both the roots and the sun to build up the bulbs for next year. And before they finally retreat back into the bulb, they actually do set the flower bud for the following year. The main question we frequently get then is, why aren't they flowering? And the answer is they didn't bulk up enough the year before. So the one thing you don't do with your jonquils is to cut the foliage off before it's finally died right back. It's too soon for that to happen now. Yours shouldn't have died back.
Oh, they're starting to. They came out pretty early.
Okay. No, whatever you do, don't cut them off. As long as there's still some green there, leave them. Now that means you might have to mow around them and look a bit untidy, but yes, leave them. And please, I also see in some gardening books, have you seen this, where people get up and they tie them in a fancy knot?
Yeah.
Don't do that, okay? They need to keep working and harvesting energy, which means it's much exposure to sun as possible.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
No,
thanks for your call.
I say mow them, go for it.
Oh yes, Steve would say mow them every year until they never come up again.
I would.
They are an environmental weed in some areas. Yeah.
Got to control them.
All right, we've got another call live.
Oh, hello, and look, you really, if you are calling us live, we really do appreciate it, but you have to turn down the sound on the TV because we can hear the sound in the background of this call.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello, gentlemen, how are you?
We're well, thank you.
Yep. A question for you, if I may. I've got 4-year-old twins that love getting into the veggie garden and pulling leaves off the plants and whatnot. After your recommendations for a natural pest deterrent, I've got some cabbages and various different plants there, but the cabbages seem to be the ones that are having their leaves eaten, and I'm after a natural more so than chemical, so it's not going to affect the boys.
I was going to say, I have to ask, who's eating the leaves? Is it pests or is it your boys?
No, the boys are picking them, but the pests are eating them.
Well, yeah, the boys are perhaps some of the natural pest control you could consider.
Yeah, I actually earned my pocket money catching cabbage white butterflies at one stage. There are a number now, and possibly a good idea for you would be to get in touch with the organic growers who, once upon a time, not sure whether it's still available, had a wonderful little booklet on organic controls. But to reel one or two off, garlic sprays do work, make the things taste like garlic. Your boys might not like that. The potassium soaps are generally regarded as safe. The pest oils, particularly the ones you make up yourself, you can use olive oil and water also regarded as safe. I'm sure there are others, but there are some out there now. Yeah. And there is a bacillus-based spray, a few of them. So that's a naturally occurring bacteria. We've got a few now. These are very target specific. You can, but I don't recommend it. Drink the darn stuff if you want to. It's got a lethal dose rate of phenomenal figures. So, you know, there are in fact quite a range. And you are doing now what most people are doing, which is leaning towards the much safer chemicals.
And one thing I'd add there is the best pest control is your eyes. Got to get out there at specific times, particularly at the moment. Snails, first thing in the morning, they're moving around, you can find them, and it doesn't take you long to get half a bucket load in some situations. And just keep an eye out for caterpillars and things like that, particularly the moth, because they're very slow in the morning.
Oh, 'tis the season.
And you can whack them with a squash racket very, very easily. Even old people like me with no reflexes can hit them nowadays.
Some try putting up something that looks like a female cabbage white butterfly or cabbage moth, same thing, that it looks like there's a whole heap of female cabbage moths around, and the actual female cabbage moth will go, oh, well, heaps of eggs been laid here, I'm not going to bother. I haven't seen that. No, I haven't noticed that works too much. I love the idea, but I haven't seen that works too well. I have
to tell you, I found it just simply doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's me being polite.
But yeah, it is you know, very nice too.
But look, there's also beforehand, you can try exclusion netting. Yeah. We haven't mentioned that. That works beautifully because they can't get to the leaves to lay their eggs.
The sort of product you're talking about, Steve, this is one called Veggie Blanket. So it's a fine, light mesh that is literally dropped over the top of your vegetable garden. And this works as an exclusion thing. I noticed when I put this out, almost immediately, the cabbage white butterflies were flying around on the top saying, all right, who's stolen all the cabbages? Where have they gone? So it does work, and that might be a good way to go for some. Yeah.
And the beauty of this stuff is it's very light, so as the plant grows, it just lifts
it up
gently.
Yep.
So it works really well.
And it doesn't blow away in the wind, which is also nice, so light.
Can you give me an indication where I might be able to buy this now? Maybe.
You can ask around. Now you put me on the spot. I know exactly where you can buy it, but if I mention it, I'll be promoting product. What do you want to do about that, Gary?
I'll go for it.
I'll go for it. Okay, all right. I only know one place you can get it, and it is called Commercial Net Makers, and it's in Bibra Lake.
Oh, that's
okay.
Great. All right. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
All right. I'm sure, by the way, that other people will be making it in time, will be available, but at the moment that's the only source I know.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have calls? Do we have emails?
Well, you can call 64685994, but let's go to an email.
We've got an email, and this is a bit of a blast from the past because it's from Doug. I know Doug from way back in the early 80s when he was a shearing contractor, and we used to bump into each other when I was working for the Ag Department up in Meekatharra.
I think they bumped into each other in the pub, by the way. Oh, sorry, Gary. No, you keep going. No, sorry.
Anyway, nice to hear from you, Doug. It's been a long time. 3 years ago, he acquired some boabs, and he got them from Kununurra Nursery, so they had a big trip down south. He's kept 5, and 2 have already rotten off in the base. He's just wanting to get a bit of an idea how he can look after the remaining ones and try to have some success.
Actually, putting up a picture of the boab's almost superfluous. It's one of the iconic trees. If you don't know what a boab looks like, well, you haven't been travelling. This is a wonderful family boab where one actually fell down and then resprouted, as you can see all the way along. But interestingly, that we are now getting them in pots available commercially. And for a long while, it was thought that the boabs just won't grow in Perth, but they will. The problem is looking after them during the winter months.
Yeah, the trick is think about where they grow naturally, where they're happiest, and see if you can emulate that. They are growing up north. The summers are hot and wet, and the winters are warm and dry. Our winters are cold and wet, and our summers are hot and dry. So they're out, their leaves are out where they're expecting there to be lots of water and there's no water. That's tough on them. And when they've dropped their leaves expecting it to be all dry, it's cold and wet. So that's where the rot's coming from.
Yeah.
So
but they are grown in Perth. I mean, look, this one's up in Kings Park. And, you know, there's a huge, iconic one up in Kings Park.
Doing a couple of little tricks to make them happy. They haven't just bunged them in.
Yeah, that one's got a lecky blanket, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But the big one hasn't on top. The very big one they've transported, which you can see now. Sadly, it's looking a bit hollow on the back end. This is the very big one because it got a bit bruised during transport. But it's quite a feat to bring it down. So they will grow, but as Steve says, the trick is keeping them happy over winter. Don't let them get too wet. Certainly be very wary about the mulches that you use. The bottom, if you are, for instance, using something like sheep manure around the bottom, it will rot because they are just fibrous, that's all they are. They're an oversized beetroot, for want of a better phrase. Yeah. Well, that's about it, isn't it? Nice. I mean, that's what they are. They're just water swallows. A number of remarkable stories about boabs, but we could do an hour-long program. Fascinating plant, all round.
But it's interesting for tonight this is another example where the next door neighbours got some boabs and they all survived. So it's getting really annoying.
Well, I mean, I'm glad he sent us the email, but perhaps we should respond and say, please go and talk to your next door neighbour.
Well, some people even further south from here grow boabs, but for their tuber. So just
edible.
In the field, but not turning them into a tree. Or growing them into a tree.
I did have some of those boab roots, right? But they were chili boab roots, and I couldn't taste anything in the boab. All I could taste was the chili.
That gets done a lot.
Yes.
All right, we've got a call live, ready to go.
Hello, welcome to the program. Yes, you're with us now.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
Yes, again, the sound on your television may be throwing you. You need to turn the sound down because of that delay. And I can hear the TV in the background. Now, can we try again? Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm pressing mute. Right, I've got the sound. Hello, I've got the sound right down.
Jolly good. What's your question?
Yeah, okay, let's try.
It's okay.
Yes, go for it.
I've got about 10 hibiscus in my front garden, and I read that the best time to prune them is September, but my hibiscus are cut in bud, so I don't know what to do.
Look, don't worry too much. I assume they're hibiscus sinensis, that is the imported, the exotic hibiscus that everybody grows with hundreds of different varieties, yes? I say that because we have a lot of native hibiscus as well. Can I put it?
These, they only grow to about 6 foot apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I face the afternoon sun.
Okay, but the flowers look something like this. The ones I'm showing,
Yes.
if you turn around on the screen, yeah. Look,
Yes.
you can basically prune a hibiscus any time you feel like it, so when it suits you.
I don't like to get rid of all the buds.
No, don't.
Lose the flowers.
That's what I say. When it suits you, you prune it. Almost any time of year.
They flowered earlier in the year, and then I thought maybe it's the time to prune them, but now they're covered in buds, so I thought maybe that was another state that advertised the time to prune them.
Oh, look,
in September.
the nice thing about gardening is there's nearly always more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. There's nearly always more than one way in which you can prune or when you can prune. Your plants will give you the best idea. If they're full of buds, well, no, it would be a waste to prune them now. Wait until you get a dull, a slack period, if you like, and prune them then, because the hibiscus will accept it. No problems.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good luck with the hibiscus. Yeah.
All right, well,
No.
we've had a bit of, hopefully that was helpful. We've had a little bit of a last-minute run with calls, and we've got another caller on the
Okay,
line.
see if we can squeeze another one or two in. Hello, welcome to the program.
Good evening, John.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We could go on like this all night, you know. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hi. We have a mango tree in our backyard, which is very bushy. It's about 10 to 12 feet tall, and the branches go right down to the ground. And is it a good time now to prune it? And should the branches close to the ground be cut off?
Well, only if they annoy you. Is
But
the simple.
the mangoes go right down to the ground, and they sort of get.
Yeah. Well, as I say, only if they annoy you. There's no reason from the tree's perspective to prune those branches off. But if it doesn't fit in with the way you want the garden, you know, you can take them off. The only thing I would suggest about pruning mangoes is you always do it while the mangoes are growing fairly actively. So that's not winter and probably not autumn either. From now on, probably about, the last 3 weeks or so, they've been making reasonable growth. Anytime now.
Yeah. You can if you want.
You can if you want.
There's no flower on the tree yet.
Yeah, optional, yeah.
Okay, and the other thing I want to ask you is, what is the most humane way to get rid of snails?
I missed the question.
The most humane way to get rid of snails.
Oh,
Do we worry about that? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, very, very fast. And I've been going out in the mornings and basically they're going for slimes onto the lawn at the moment. They're on the dog poo, they're up the fruit trees, they're everywhere. So effectively get them together and put them in a pile and squish them and dispatch them in one quick move.
Treading them. Never had any problems with treading. You wouldn't get anything faster than treading them.
Yeah.
Good question.
Be very, very careful about using snail pellets and that because they have side problems with other creatures.
Yeah. And we've got all these different snails around at the moment. Just worth pointing out, you know, you've got on your left on the screen there, the brown snail, and we've got the Italian white snail, and then we've got the pointer snail. What's missing out of that image is the green snail, but not every wood has got that. So as Gary says, active in the morning, during the night when it's damp, yeah, go get them right now. Time, I'm very much aware of the time.
Yeah, we've got time for another quick call.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
No, we'll go straight to the website.
Are you the Time Lord?
No, straight to the website.
So, if we may, Beyond Gardens can't be with you for the whole week, but not on the television anyway, but we can be with you on your computer. We do have a website, beyondgardens.com.au, and when you get there, this is what it will look like. There are a number of features. Gary?
Yeah, we've discussed the social network, which is the forum, and there's well over 1,300 people there now. We have events calendar where you can get to know about the latest events, but we also have a thing called the e-learning, and I'm just going to take you through roughly some of the information there. And we have a little courses that you can do, starting with the GardenWise seminar e-learning course. And if you click in there, you'll find a whole heap of information that we talk about every week. It'll give you ideas about how to improve West Australian improvements, composting, you name it. Irrigation techniques, how to irrigate turf, open areas, you name it, water saving.
And it goes on.
And it goes on and on. And if you have enough time to go through it all, you can actually have a go at the evaluation in the end to see if you caught on what we're talking about. So it's just one of those features that we started doing in combination with the Water Corporation, we also do the professional courses, which are a little bit lower down, but this is the one open to the general public.
So that's all on the website. And also there you will find events. Now we do have a number of events coming up in the near future. Not all of them are available, I'm afraid, but there's a Mount Claremont special event which is on tomorrow. I think Johnny Mack and Alison are going to do that.
No,
yeah?
Johnny Mack and you, actually.
Just Johnny Mack and me. Oh, I'd better be there. Okay. Saturday, just for your advice, we do have a big one going on at Piney Lakes, but that did
full.
book out very quickly.
Yep.
But there's also an opportunity to tour the Advanced Water Treatment Recycling. Yeah. I got that right? Advanced Water Recycling Centre at Benya.
Yeah, yep. So it's an open day, fantastic opportunity to go in and have a look at the trial site that's now open. They're deep water injecting, and Johnny McWilliams will be out there available to answer all your questions and that sort of thing.
No, you can still book for Floreat.
Floreat, you better hurry up because if I remember right, there's only 10 places left for that, and Morley, I think we've got about 50, and that Wanneroo is booked out.
Morley. So that's it. There are workshops. But of course, don't forget, you can still, for the next couple of weeks or so, send emails into us during the course of the week. The email address is tv@beyondgardens.com.au, and a picture would be nice of your loved ones if you like, but better still of the plant that we have the issue with. And we will do our level best to get to as many emails as possible. I think we did fairly well this week. We got through a fair few of them.
And the good thing about it is we're now starting to get a few emails commenting that what we offered in terms of advice has been working for them. So it's nice to hear some success stories.
Feedback, greenback,
greenback.
Yes, and all this made possible by the sponsorship of the Water Corporation. And once again, we'd like to thank them for their continued support of this program. As I mentioned, look, just a couple more weeks to go, so get all your gardening queries in, and we'll do our level best. Next time we are live, if you're watching this and it's not live, sorry, we can't talk to you right at the moment. Okay.
So if it's not the 16th of October, it's not live.
It's not live.
Yeah.
There are a host of people who make this technically challenging program possible. Those are the names running across the bottom of the screen, and we also like to thank you for taking part. See you next week.